What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steve.
I'm Lindsay.
Today we're going to be reacting to the Royal Air Force's Quick Reaction Alert Cruise. Now, I don't really know exactly what this is specifically, but I've had a lot of people in the comments suggest this video, and I even recently had someone on Ko-fi reach out to me and message me just specifically to react to this video. So this must be a very interesting video.
It must be, because I have seen a bunch of comments about this, but it's always the acronym RAFs, and I just thought, oh, that's...
You didn't know what that meant?
No, I didn't even put it together that it was the Royal Air Force, so...
The Eurofighter Typhoon. One of the most advanced fighter jets in the world, armed and ready.
That would be crazy.
Pilots
would.
set to scramble at a moment's notice to defend the country on the orders of the British government.
This is what order I've been given. This is my job. I am the weapons platform.
For the first time, cameras have been allowed to film every stage.
That's cool.
Part of national
Time.
security.
The worst case scenario is that we potentially have to shoot down an aircraft.
We have scrambled 2 QRA jets.
We have been inside the UK's top secret nuclear bunker and heard from the pilots themselves and the politicians who would give them the order to shoot down a plane. If you were a hostile aircraft, that's quite threatening.
That would just be surreal.
In a matter of seconds, the sky defenders of the United Kingdom are away on what has now become a routine job, shooting down Nazis.
Just as we were ready in 1940 for the Nazi aircraft coming across the southeast of England, then we're ready now.
This is the story of how the RAF protects Britain's skies every minute of every day.
Britain's top guns.
Wow. Can you imagine the intensity of that job?
I mean, no, not really, but I'm just like, I feel like someone in that position would get used to it. Like, you're never going to fully be desensitized to it, but like once you do it enough, I feel like it's not as big a deal to you.
But I just can't imagine, like, you know, obviously most of them nowadays probably don't get faced with the real world scenario, you know, of shooting down a plane. I mean, that's something
What do you mean?
Well, that's something that would happen if someone was an enemy was occupying British airspace, I'm guessing. So, like, at least I haven't heard of anything like that happening, you know, anytime in the past.
Like now maybe it's mostly drones and...
Yeah, but can you imagine, you know, when you have to possibly go and shoot down a plane with someone in it?
No.
It's just, I can't imagine the intensity, you know, just the adrenaline that's going through you in that moment, you know. But even the training would be intense.
Yeah.
So this is a secret bunker?
RAF Coningsby in Lincolnshire is home to 2 frontline Typhoon squadrons.
What? Okay.
I don't know, the empty compartment thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is this for...
Something to do with aerodynamics?
That's what I was wondering, guys. Anyone that knows about planes, I don't really know much of anything about planes or jets, but...
Physics, really.
But this, like, is that for aerodynamics or is this something else?
I don't know. It doesn't have a door on it, so...
So, okay, are these missiles right here?
Looks like it.
And what is this right here?
Maybe fuel reserve?
Yeah, maybe.
30 combat jets
Or
are
is it
based
another
in.
missile?
They are flown by 40 pilots and supported by 400 ground crew. They have many roles, but the one that never ends for them is a mission known as QRA. It stands for Quick Reaction Alert. The RAF's operation to protect the skies of Britain.
Wow.
Man.
On a discrete part of RAF Coningsby is a building nicknamed the Q Shed. It sits between 2 hangars. Inside each one is an aircraft loaded with fuel and missiles, ready to take off day or night. The pilots take it in turns on the QRA rotor. Each shift lasts 24 hours. They don't want us to broadcast their surnames for their own personal security.
Okay, so each shift lasts 24 hours. So
And you've got to be awake that whole time?
I'm guessing.
Because otherwise, you know,
Yeah.
the alert comes in and you don't wake up.
Yeah, and you probably can't be lounging either because you got to be able to be already
ready
pumped
to
up,
go.
ready to go. So I'm guessing that 24 hours, you've got to be
Drinking Red Bull
on
or
it.
something.
And so I'm curious if anyone knows, if you are working a shift that's 24 hours, how often are you on? Like twice a week or like, I don't know. Or maybe just once a week. No, probably got to be more than that. Twice a week, probably.
You think?
I don't know. If they're 24-hour shifts, 2 would be 48 hours. That would kind of make sense. But, you know,
Depends on how many pilots.
I don't know, because this is something that's so critical. The people would have to be
Right,
very
you wouldn't-
fresh.
yeah, you wouldn't
And so,
want to
I don't
travel.
know. Let us know in the comments if you know, guys.
Just tell me what it's like, the feelings when you're on shift and you're fairly tense because you don't know when that's going to crack on.
Yeah, indeed. You can't think about it too much because otherwise your mind wouldn't be in the right place when you got the shout. Obviously, you've always got an ear on anything that can happen.
On shift, the Q shed becomes home. There are bedrooms so they can sleep overnight.
Oh.
But on duty, their senses never fully switch off. Mark is coming to the end of his first shift, and it's been a quiet one. This is your first QRA.
Yeah.
What sort of feeling of responsibility do you have?
Yeah, it's a huge feeling of responsibility. It's kind of nice to be able to kind of fulfil the training that we've carried out for such a long period of time. But yeah, there certainly is a weight of responsibility. Yeah.
Why is it important for you to be doing this job?
I think it's as John said before, I think it's a real privilege to be in this position to protect the country as a whole.
It's been a gentle introduction
It's a very
to
important
QRA
job.
for Mark. Not every shift, though, is as quiet as this one. On average, 8,000 aircraft enter British airspace every single day.
Oh, wow.
This animation shows the actual route of each plane.
Can you imagine
during one typical
being the
24-hour
controller?
period last year.
8,000 aircraft a day?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we're not thinking like large planes. Some are small planes, maybe
Yeah.
drones, who knows, but that seems like a lot in the airspace of Britain. It makes me wonder how many aircraft are in the U.S. airspace, considering how
I don't
large
know.
the U.S. is.
Yeah, I've never looked into that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a way to know like truly how large of an amount that is per landmass. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That would be another hard job, though, is doing air traffic control.
I used to want to do that.
Really?
Yeah, I
feel
saw
like
that would
it'd
be
be really
fun.
stressful.
It would be very stressful, and this job could be very stressful in a
Yeah.
way. I mean, you literally you literally could be the person that literally could save thousands upon thousands of lives potentially if there was an enemy.
And you just never know.
Yeah, you never know
if it's going to be your day or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that, like I said, I don't think this is something that they would actually have to go and shoot down a real plane very often.
You wouldn't think.
You wouldn't think. I just can't imagine it would happen that often. But if you did, that would be intense.
Whether they're landing, taking off, or just passing overhead, each aircraft must be closely monitored.
It is quite a challenge, but our training...
So they do all the
and
monitoring for
practicing and
all of those
simulations
aircraft?
we do
Air
in terms of
control
our
center.
operations are fundamental to making sure that we achieve the tasks that we are assigned to do. We're identifying aircraft every day, and we're looking for every aircraft that comes into the UK to understand where it's going, what it's doing. But on occasions, on a daily basis, there are instances where we are unsure of what the aircraft is doing.
Okay, guys, sorry to pause again. I just want to get this clear. Does basically they contact the aircraft maybe and then ask them who they are, where they're coming from, and where they're going? And then if they don't
it
respond,
doesn't check out or they don't
right,
respond, then they send the quick reaction.
That's what I'm guessing.
Alert crew to go check it out, and
then from there they can determine if
it's a threat or
yeah.
if it's like what's going on.
But unfortunately, if they did have to do that, and then unfortunately was something got crossed and they weren't able to communicate, how would you determine if you were going to shoot down someone? Maybe they'll tell us.
or it might be in a different place to where we were expecting it or a different time.
The British military has 2 air control and reporting centres, CRCs, one based at RAF Bulmer in Northumberland and this one at RAF Scampton in Lincolnshire, just a few miles to the west of the Typhoon station at RAF Coningsby. For security reasons, the various parts of the QRA operation are kept in different locations in case of attack. Their job here is to identify suspicious activity. They are looking for abnormal behaviour, unusual flight paths, loss of communication, unidentified aircraft.
Can you imagine making sense of all that?
No.
Me?
As we are filming, an alert goes off.
Okay, what we've got is we've had a call on the guard radio. Guard radio is where every aircraft within the UK listens to that radio, with air traffic going out for an aircraft who's not speaking to anyone at the moment.
Every single aircraft in the UK?
Every aircraft will listen into the guard radio so that actually if they need to be contacted, they can be contacted. In this particular instance, an aircraft has got airborne out of Marham. We believe it to have a stuck receiver, which means he can't hear. But we have not had him check in, so they've gone on guard radio to try and contact him to establish two-way communications with him and therefore be able to identify him and confirm which aircraft it is.
Can you imagine how scary / awkward that would be if you were a pilot and you didn't know this was going on with your radio control?
Yeah.
But you haven't called in to them either. So yeah. But you think everything's good and you're just flying along and all of a sudden the alert crew comes flying up on you and you're like,
yeah, like what happens in that moment? Like I guess they know to turn on the other radio. Is that what's going on?
I don't know.
I'm not really sure exactly how that works.
Signals and.
But as I said, I don't know hardly anything about flying. Really, I've been on a number of planes, but I don't know anything about actually flying them. Mm-hmm. But I'm guessing that as you're in different airspaces, for safety reasons, pilots know that you check in with the local authorities, whoever that is. Yeah. I'm guessing you're just taught that in pilot school or something.
Well, yeah, flight paths. And
I guess you do. I guess everybody has certain flight paths depending on where they're coming from and where they're going. And then also whenever you go into different countries' airspaces, you're required to check in with those countries.
Yeah, I feel like that would be pretty common sense.
Yeah.
It turns out to be a US Air Force plane with radio problems. Nothing to worry about. The Typhoon crews.
Well, that's good it didn't get shot down.
We have two main missions in respect of quick reaction and alert. One is against military aircraft and Russian aircraft, and the other one is very much a UK-centric 9/11 type scenario.
This is a Russian Bear aircraft. It's a long-range Tupolev bomber. Recently, Vladimir Putin has been using them to challenge NATO's response.
How do you assess that current geopolitical situation with the Russians?
The first question is, go and speak to Mr. Putin and see what his intentions are. But I think the important thing from my viewpoint, we have a responsibility as a NATO member, firstly to reassure those member states that are much closer to any potential Russian threat than ourselves, that we are here, that NATO is fit for purpose, and of course to deter, as part of NATO, any potential aggressors to the organisation and the countries within it.
Only last Thursday, 2 RAF Typhoons were scrambled from Lossiemouth in Scotland to intercept a Russian Blackjack strategic bomber that is capable of flying supersonic. The Russian planes don't submit a flight plan or transmit their position.
Oh, wow.
They never actually enter British airspace, but fly into the British area of interest to test the RAF's reactions.
They're doing their job and we're doing our job to determine what is happening and then feed that back to the fighter controllers and further up the chain.
In April 2015, a Russian Bear bomber flew up the English Channel straight through busy commercial flight paths. This is video of that incident, filmed from inside the Russian plane, the RAF Typhoons shadowing it alongside.
This kind of flying is extremely intimidatory. It's also dangerous. They may not enter our airspace, but they don't respond. They don't file flight plans. They don't respond to air traffic control. They don't even respond to our pilots when they're up in the air alongside them. It's unnecessary behaviour. It's intimidatory. It's designed to annoy us, but it's important we respond to it, and we do.
So they don't respond. They don't respond at all.
No, they don't.
That's
According to him,
crazy.
yeah.
I know this was like I think 9 years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So this was before all the Ukraine stuff and whatnot. But that's crazy that they wouldn't just respond.
Yeah.
Like, I'm wondering if there's other countries that are like that in other people's airspace. You know what I mean?
Probably.
Like, I'm sure Russia's not the only one. I'm sure.
I would think China probably does.
You think China? Maybe. Maybe it's possible. I was thinking, like, I don't know, like Iran.
Do we do that to people? I don't know.
I don't know. Do we? I have no idea. I don't know. Is that a normal thing with some countries towards other countries, or is that just like Russia alone?
In a matter of seconds, the sky defenders of the United Kingdom are away on what has now become a routine job, shooting down Nazis.
75
Look at
years
those
ago,
planes,
the
how much
German
more
with the
unsafe
RAF
they
were
were.
performing a very similar role, but against
Wow.
a very different enemy.
Goering's Luftwaffe took its first licking.
In 1940, the German Luftwaffe was bombing airfields across the southeast of England. The only thing that stood in their way were the Hurricanes and Spitfires of Fighter Command. It was the Battle of Britain.
If it wasn't for the replica Hurricane and a Spitfire as well, you wouldn't know it's here. You could almost walk straight past it. Because 76 stairs below here is a World War II underground operations room, which was the command center for the Battle of Britain.
I would love to visit that.
Yeah, that'd be really
During those tense days, this bunker at RAF Uxbridge was manned round the clock as the Nazis pummeled the airfields in the southeast. Key decisions that would decide the fate of Europe were taken here, 60 feet underground.
It's
At that literal bunker right there?
Yeah, I think
just
so.
70 years ago, this was very much the height of technology. And trying to imagine what it must have been like
Yeah.
during those days. There would have been 20 people.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
How the heck did they keep all that straight?
Okay,
then?
so you had all the operators up there communicating with the
Relaying
outside world,
information.
relayed information of where planes are and stuff, like jets are.
The amount of like human error is
Wow, that's
it exists
crazy.
obviously, but
You know, I guess I obviously knew, back then you wouldn't have the technology we have today, but I guess
didn't know it would be like this.
I've just never thought about it really, like how they would do it,
Yeah.
But that's crazy. Wow. That's something I've really been wanting to do for quite some time, is go into some of those old World War II bunkers. I think that would just be so interesting. Definitely something I'd like to do when we get over to the UK, if we can find one you can go into.
Well, even the Bletchley Park place where the code breakers worked, like that.
True, that's something we need to look into. We got sent a little information about it, but we don't really know that much about it.
Yeah.
But I think that'd be interesting.
Crowded around this table, all of them women, working in pairs, plotting the route of German aircraft as they came across the English Channel. One RAF officer said it was like a game of tennis. The Germans were always serving, the RAF were the ones returning. And on that day, that crucial day, as if to add to the pressure, Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister, was up here watching down, and he saw on the board behind all of the lights turn red, meaning that every single Spitfire and Hurricane squadron was up in the air engaging the Germans. And he turned to the man in charge and said, "How much have we got in reserve?" The answer came back, "None."
Wow.
Fighter Command was vastly outnumbered. The Luftwaffe came at them with over 3,000 aircraft.
Oh,
the Allies
my
only
goodness.
had 600 in the beginning.
Holy!
103 pilots killed, 128 seriously injured. The lifeblood of Fighter Command, its fighter pilots, was ebbing away. So we were in a pretty serious state. We had pilots. We didn't have combat-trained pilots, and pilots were arriving at frontline squadrons, if they were lucky, with 20 hours experience on a Hurricane or a Spitfire. Some with 15, some with 10, some with none at all.
The Hurricane might
Getting
have
in one of
shot
those
down
with
more
20
planes
hours
in the
experience.
battle, but the Spitfire has become a British icon.
That's crazy.
Well, this is the last remaining airworthy Spitfire to have fought in the Battle of Britain, and
RAF bought it for £25 off a scrap heap back in 1948.
£25?
Would you believe it? It's not particularly comfortable, I have to say, and to imagine that these young men would go up in it 4 or 5 times a day to face the Germans over the English Channel is quite something.
And just open
Today,
to the elements.
The Battle of
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Is RAF Coningsby. The planes that defended Britain's skies 75 years ago now live alongside their modern successors, the Typhoons. There are a few RAF
crazy.
pilots who get to fly both.
All right, I just want to say, like, imagine back then, I mean, we're talking about, kids, 20 years old, 18 years old, like, isn't that insane? And they're going up multiple times a day in these planes, fighting off the enemy combatants, and, like, you're not even closed up.
I know. And I was thinking, in the event of a plane crash, how much less protected and safe you would be in one of those than...
I wonder if they had like a parachute seat. You know what I mean? Like if there was a way to eject your seat and then you're in it and then it has a parachute on it or something. Because I doubt you're wearing a parachute because you couldn't sit back. So, but I've seen, I don't even know where I've seen that, but I've seen where pilots would eject themselves.
Was it in a cartoon?
No, I've seen it. It's black and white in my head, but I can't think of what I've seen that from. But yeah.
One of those is Coningsby's station commander, Group Captain Jez Attridge.
These old aeroplanes, you can really feel them. There's not much to them. It's you and the stick. Whereas the modern aeroplanes, it's all about processing the information rather than actually flying the aeroplane. So you're sitting there as a battle space manager rather than a pure pilot.
Wow, what a thrill.
The Spitfire.
Yeah, seriously.
The Typhoon was designed for a dogfight.
Look out. Oh my goodness.
Would you ever be a passenger in one of those?
Yeah.
If it was a 2-seater?
Yes.
I would too, it would be fun.
Yes, I would 100% do that.
They can be over central London in just 10 minutes. When the alarm goes, there is no time for a briefing.
Look at that.
Coming up, the siren sounds.
You're right. The siren goes off and we need to be out of those aircraft as soon as possible. The training just kicks in and the adrenaline flows.
And we experience firsthand
what they got to ride in it?
Intercepted at 35,000 feet.
If you did not respond immediately to my orders and turn east, you will be shot down.
What is that?
I don't know.
During the later years of the Cold War, when the Russian nuclear threat was at its height, the British government built this bunker at RAF Air Command outside High Wycombe in Buckinghamshire. It is so top secret that this is the first time cameras have been allowed to film it.
Wow.
3 sets of blast doors protect it from nuclear, biological, and chemical attack. There are 4 floors going deep below the ground. On the second, somewhere in the heart of the bunker, is the National Air Defence.
They still work out of it?
I thought it
was closed down.
Yeah, I did too.
The top of the military chain to protect Britain's skies.
Psycho, this is the MC for the NatRep. We still have no radio contact with...
The role of the NADOC is to act very much as the hub, the fusion point, if you want, for all the information that comes in to allow us to exercise air defence on behalf of the United Kingdom Air Defence Command.
We've got a lost comms on a call sign.
If a suspicious aircraft appears, there is a direct line from here to the Department of Transport and the Metropolitan Police Counter-Terror Unit. They can swap intelligence to build a clearer picture of the threat. In real emergencies, a red phone connects straight to Downing Street. When dialed, a voice answers with one simple word, London. It is then transferred to the Prime Minister or to a senior cabinet minister if he is away.
Imagine when the phone rings, even during an exercise, the heart beats a little faster.
Yes, there are lives at stake, there are uncertainties, you're unsure as to how real the threat is, and there's advice available to you, but in the end, a minister has to take that decision.
Be a lot of pressure.
The QRA operation
a lot
is
of
highly
pressure.
sensitive. It has never been filmed before, from start to finish, but the RAF gave us unprecedented access to do just that. This is how it works. We flew out of RAF Coningsby to play the part of a hijacked passenger plane. So we've been heading east over the North Sea. We're about there at the moment. And in a minute we're going to turn around, we're going to start coming back down towards the UK, but this time as an unidentified aircraft. At which point the alarm bells will start ringing. The Typhoons base here in Coningsby will be scrambled, and they will come out, sit alongside us, and intercept us.
Even though it's an exercise, it's still be scary.
Yeah. Is identified on the computer screens.
Shock of interest. East Coast inbound.
They immediately contact the NADOC in the bunker at RAF Air Command.
I wonder if they're in on it or they don't know.
I have a track of interest.
Like if it's a surprise exercise.
001.
I'm guessing they're in on it. I'm guessing it's a train. I think.
At 35,000 feet. Yeah, I can see it on your radar. Roger, that's understood. I will bring quick reaction alert to readiness. Stand by.
The master controller at Scampton alerts the Typhoons.
Coningsby Operations and QRA. This is the Black Dog Master Controller. Acknowledge.
QRA.
Q on. 4 quick reaction alerts. Scramble, scramble, scramble. Acknowledge.
QRA.
The 2 pilots and their ground teams run to the hangars.
And their ground to
like they help.
Yeah, to get them prepared. Move the ladder out of the way.
They can flick a switch to begin powering up the jet.
What does he got in his?
They climb into the
what has he got on his side there in that jacket?
Isn't his air mask?
Oh, yeah, it probably is.
The Typhoons are cleared to take off.
We have scrambled 2 QRA jets to intercept this lost comms aircraft. 1 jet has been cleared supersonic.
Climb flight level 410 and 400.
There's no way that was in real time.
No,
That
wasn't.
I wonder how long it actually took.
Probably still not a lot.
No, I don't think it did.
As they break through the clouds,
What other information have we got on this
the
aircraft?
team on the ground are still trying to gather intelligence on the suspect aircraft.
He's still out of radio contact with air traffic control.
The Typhoons need to reach it fast and assess the situation for themselves. The quicker they get there, the more thinking time for the Prime Minister if he is called upon to make a decision. And it can happen.
We start with breaking news tonight as a Russian-built Latvian cargo plane's been intercepted by RAF Typhoons and escorted into Stansted Airport.
In October 2014, the Typhoons from RAF Coningsby flew supersonic to intercept a Latvian aircraft approaching London. It wasn't communicating, and so the RAF pilot gave this final warning.
1605 from Lima 9 Tango 47. I'm instructing for Her Majesty's Government of the United Kingdom to warn you that if you do not respond immediately to my orders, you will be shot down.
The cargo plane was safely escorted
imagine that.
to Stansted. It is one of the UK's designated airports for terrorist incidents.
The people in the cockpit, the people communicating with the cockpit are fully trained, fully rehearsed and ready for that moment.
Back at RAF Coningsby, even as the 2 Typhoons are closing in on our target aircraft, new jets are being readied should another call come in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The pilot inspects the weapons and does his pre-flight checks in the cockpit. If the sirens sound, everything must be ready to go.
So they've only got 2 jets ready.
In the air at a time.
Ready to begin with. They
At least at this location.
Right.
There's other locations, right?
But it sounds like soon as they go, they then prepare 2 more jets in case they need backup. Wow.
That makes sense.
Although there is another QRA base at RAF Lossiemouth in Scotland, Coningsby must be set to launch any time of day or night, even if some of its aircraft are already deployed. 30,000 feet above the North Sea, the Typhoons are closing in on our aircraft. They approach cautiously, in case they spook the plane, and then they try to contact the cockpit.
Russian 66 from Q2, interceptor aircraft.
Our aircraft doesn't respond.
Q2, Black Dog, confirm no response.
It's remarkable how close they get. There's one either side of us at the moment, both fully armed. If you were a hostile aircraft, that's quite threatening. The Typhoon pilots will report what they're seeing back to the ground, and in turn receive any new intelligence.
Plot twist, they forgot that they were in a
so that they can
simulation.
stay
Oh
for as long as
gosh.
needed, a refueling tanker is deployed.
So we'll be getting communications from the control and reporting
That's so
centres
cool,
and
man.
captain and
How you can
bomber.
fuel a
They'll
plane
be giving us
while flying.
instructions as more information is fed to them, and they gain more information from other sources. And then gradually there's an escalation process if that needs to occur. There's nothing new in there that we don't practice, and the training just kicks in and the adrenaline flows.
I bet.
Having no luck with radio contact, the Typhoon pilots fire flares as a show.
Flares. Yeah, that makes sense.
By now, most options have been tried.
Is that just a warning?
And our plane is
Probably.
still not responding. It has become a real threat to national security.
A last-ditch effort to get attention.
Government of the United Kingdom to warn you that if you do not respond immediately to my orders to turn east, you will be shot down.
It is probable that were this happening for real, the Prime Minister or a senior cabinet member would now be on the line and briefed.
The worst case scenario is that we potentially have to shoot down an aircraft, but that's having gone through the most robust processes and procedures.
Many
in order
warnings
to and interrogate that aircraft.
And who would make that decision?
That decision is held at the political level, at the highest political level.
But who would give the order
Prime Minister?
to the pilot?
The orders would be issued by my team.
Are they trained for that?
Absolutely, and they're ready to do that.
Would you be prepared to shoot down a commercial airliner?
At the end of the day, we're in the military. This is our job, 24/7, 365 days a year. So if that's an order given to us and the correct protocols are being followed, the correct authentications be given, then yes, we can't think about it. It's our job.
Does it go
it's
through
an
your
order. It will when I land. It won't airball.
The Typhoons have returned to Coningsby. Another day on quick reaction alert. Their mission is over, their shift isn't. They go back on standby, ready should the alarm go again. In 1940, the young men and women of Fighter Command protected Britain's skies against Nazi invasion. Today, 75 years on, Russian aircraft continue to probe NATO's air defences, and the threat of terrorism is as high as it has been for many years.
Everyone knows their part in that system, they train for it, they rehearse for it, and so then if an event happens, then they're ready to react.
Training kicks in. This is what I've been trained to do. This is what order I've been given. This is my job.
Every pilot, engineer and controller is aware of the part that they play, keeping the country safe, protecting Britain's skies every minute of every day.
That was amazing.
Yeah, it really was.
I can definitely see why so many people recommended this video. It was just obviously a side that you don't normally see. I think this was the first time it's ever been shown. So.
Yeah, which I'm kind of surprised about how they were able to get access to, like, what should be a
top secret stuff.
Pretty secret, top secret thing, considering they never allowed anyone before to even film that bunker. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if I'm confused or not, but at first I thought that was just like an old bunker that was no longer in use. But
I did too.
But then
it looked like they were.
It looked like they were in it, and so I think that is still in use, if I'm not mistaken. Let us know in the comments, guys. But obviously, these guys have an extremely important job within the military, maybe one of the most important jobs, because honestly, I mean, if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't have anyone there to quickly shoot down an enemy combatant.
The first line of defense,
right?
When it comes to
it really is,
for
especially nowadays, right? I mean, like, without them, I mean, you just imagine the destruction that could happen in the country.
Yeah, so hats off to them.
Yes, absolutely. Your own 24-hour shifts. And at first I was thinking, well, when they're on, they have to be awake the entire time.
I thought that too.
But they have beds that they can stay overnight. So I'm not sure when they said they have beds stay overnight, if that was like you come in the night before your shift and then you stay up for 24 hours, or you can sleep on your shift and maybe you have other people there with you, obviously, so not everyone has to be awake at the same time.
Oh, that's true. You could, like, somebody on and then somebody taking a nap, and yeah.
When it first came on, I was just thinking it looked like it was just a very small group of people, like it was only like 2 people. So I was curious, like, okay, so both of these people obviously got to be awake at the same time. But then you see everybody else involved, and so that's probably not the case. You probably do take shifts, but then that makes me wonder, like I was saying, how often are they on shift? You got 24-hour shifts, they on shift twice a week, or maybe 3 times every 2 weeks or something like that. That might actually make sense.
I'm sure it all boils down to how many pilots there are.
Guys, thought this was amazing. Loved learning about this. We've really been enjoying the military-related videos, so if you have any other things similar to this to share with us, please do in the comments.
Yeah.
But I think that's it for us today. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please click that like button. Feel free to drop your comments or suggestions about this video or others. And don't forget to subscribe to continue to follow us on our journey to discover anything and everything about the UK and Ireland. Until next time, guys. Peace.